Welcome back to Race Report, everyone. We have just had a breathless race in Abu Dhabi for the finale of the 2021 Grand Prix season. I need a stiff drink. Let's get stuck straight in. Coming into the race, obviously there was a lot of chat about how this was the championship decider. Hamilton and Verstappen came in level on points, so it was a whoever finishes higher takes the championship. Mercedes also came into the race 28 points clear in the Constructors' Championship. But not only that, of course, it being the last race of the season, we had a lot of finales and a lot of goodbyes to say. Firstly, we had Kimi Raikkonen retiring after this race. He's been amazing whilst he's been in the sport, so I wish him a good farewell. Also Giovinazzi, his partner's last race before he switched to Formula E next season. Obviously, it was Russell's last race with Williams as well before his swap to Mercedes, and likewise for Bottas, who's moving to Alfa Romeo next season, and a last race for Honda as well, who are leaving F1 again. They've been the engine partner of AlphaTauri and Red Bull for a few years now, but next season they won't be around anymore. Red Bull will be running their own engine. So farewells to all of those guys. We saw a lot of cool looking helmets and some liveries out there as well. So it was very nice to see going into the last race. Once we got to qualifying, there was only one real shock in Q1, and it was the fact that Latifi outqualified Russell. Only the second time that's ever happened, and it's on their final time as teammates. How about that? In Q2, we had the shock of Gasly and Alonso going out. Gasly in particular, he's usually a Q3 merchant, so this was a shock. Q2 is also the time where we see the race tyres get decided, and we saw both Red Bulls go start on the soft tyres, with Mercedes starting on the medium tyres. Christian Horner later confirmed this was not a strategy call. Max Verstappen actually flat spotted his medium tyres that he wanted to start the race on. They switched over their strategy to be on the soft tyres instead. In Q3, we saw a lot of good teamwork from Red Bull. They were slipstreaming with Perez out in front, slipstreaming for Verstappen, getting that tow. Mercedes did not do that same strategy, and in the end, we had Verstappen on pole, Hamilton in second, and Norris actually coming in third. Fair play to Norris, that came out of nowhere really. Perez ended up in fourth with Bottas down in sixth. Now comes the important part though, the race. Overnight, we did have Nikita Mazapin test positive for COVID, but he did not take his grid slot, and Haas aren't allowed to enter a replacement as nobody else took part in the weekend. That's a fairly new rule by the FIA, so the grid slot was just empty. But at the start of the race itself, everybody got off the line cleanly, and Hamilton took the lead off the line. Verstappen looked very slow at the start, actually. Into the first corner, Norris went off track, and he lost out to both Perez and Sainz. Bottas actually went down the field, dropped down to 8th. After Verstappen had recovered from his poor start, he did come back at Hamilton, making a late lunge, and they nearly touched. Lewis ended up going off track, but keeping that first place. There was a big conversation here to be had surrounding whether Hamilton had to give the place back. The FIA asked Hamilton to give the advantage back, but not the place. That's a strange one. I don't think I've ever heard of that. But is that a result of the new let them race mentality that we saw in Brazil? Not quite sure. The result was Hamilton stays in the lead on his medium tyres with Verstappen behind on his soft tyres. That's how it stayed until Verstappen came into the pits on lap 14. He switched over to the hard tyre. He came back out in 5th, and it was a question of can he get to the end, from lap 14. Hamilton pits the very next lap and does the exact same as Verstappen. This allows him to keep his track position. He comes out in 2nd place. Of course, that man in 1st place is actually Sergio Perez, and Red Bull instruct Perez to hold Verstappen up as much as possible, and they actually have a brilliant battle for the lead. Perez doing his best to hold up Verstappen, and he does do a very, very good job. It finally ends on lap 21, but Perez did such a good job, then gets out of the way of Verstappen, that they're neck and neck, Verstappen and Hamilton again. Verstappen did come on the radio and said Checo is a legend. I kind of like that. Perez then instantly dived into the pits. His tyres were all used up in that battle. And it's actually Bottas that climbs up to 3rd. He is not pitted and he's going long on his first set of mediums. This is actually the part of the race where we saw a spate of retirements. We saw Kimi go out with a brake issue. That was really sad in his last race to go out like that. We also saw Russell retire in his last race for Williams with an engine issue as well. So again, quite sad that. Bottas finally pits on lap 31. This moves him out of Verstappen's pit window, which frees Red Bull up for a second stop if they want to have one. Bottas came out in the end in 9th, but had a really entertaining battle with Charles Leclerc down there. And it was particularly interesting for me because Leclerc has the visor camera this weekend, and they were cutting to it during the battle, and I just thought it was amazing to see. We also saw Giovinazzi retire in his final race with Alfa Romeo as well. This one actually caused a virtual safety car. Mercedes and Hamilton chose to stay out, obviously valuing track position over fresher tyres. This allowed Verstappen to dive into the pits, get more hard tyres, and still come out in second place. So at this point in the race, Hamilton is 17 seconds clear of Verstappen, but his tyres are 23 laps older. This is where the chase begins and Verstappen starts banging in laps. However, Hamilton does answer with his own good laps, especially on old used tyres like that. A bit of sad news for Norris as well. 8 laps from the end, he has to pit because he has a slow puncture. Drops down from 5th to 10th. And then the big one. A full safety car is deployed on lap 53 after Latifi crashes into the barriers. Again, Hamilton needs to stay out to keep track position. If he came in, Verstappen would just stay out, take the lead. He stays out even though he's on old worn tyres. Of course, Verstappen uses his opportunity to pit and take the soft tyres. The big question at this point is it will be a straight shootout, but will we have any racing laps to do it under? We're so close to the end of the race. Of course, lots of other teams take advantage of the safety car to pit their cars as well, so the order is all modelled up at the moment. We also saw Perez retire. Unclear why. He sounded surprised on the radio when they told him to do it, and they didn't give a reason. So a bit weird there, I guess. Everything from this point on went extremely quickly and was extremely nervy. So I'll try and break it down as best I can. So first off, we were told that lapped cars won't be allowed to overtake under the safety car. This is a point that's at the discretion of the FIA. Once the obstruction has been cleared, so in this case it was Latifi's car, once that's clear, all the marshals are safe, very often, but not always, cars are allowed to overtake the safety car to unlap themselves, basically get back into the order that the grid should be in, right? However, we were told that would not be the case this time round, and the feeling was that Michael Massey was doing this to allow us to at least have a racing lap at the end. The thought was that allowing the lapped cars to overtake would take too much time and the race would end under a safety car. Of course, Red Bull felt aggrieved by this because their man, Max Verstappen, had about 4 cars between him and Hamilton. They would get blue flags, of course, because that's not the position they're meant to be in, but he would still have to go round them to catch up to Hamilton. This is where things get a little bit confusing as we get a notification on screen saying that the back markers are now allowed to overtake the safety car, but we also get a notification saying the safety car is coming in. So this only allows the first 4 or 5 cars, namely the cars between Hamilton and Verstappen, to overtake before they reach the safety car line and the safety car comes in. It's quite a controversial ending because not all cars manage to unlap themselves, but it's clear the FIA wanted to end the race under a racing lap rather than the safety car. This meant we got underway with 1 lap to go with Verstappen on fresh, soft tyres behind Hamilton, who's on 40 lap old hard tyres. It's a crazy way to end the season on the last lap of the last race, a winner-take-all, knockdown drag-out between the 2 top guys, and of course, the fresher tyres have it. Verstappen overtakes Hamilton. Hamilton did try to come back at him, but there was nothing going. Verstappen wins and is the world champion on the last lap of the last race. There's absolute scenes as Red Bull go wild and Mercedes are sat there shell-shocked. Congratulations to Max Verstappen and to Red Bull. Boy, that was a doozy. Hamilton comes home in second and secures the Constructors' Championship for Mercedes, their 8th in a row. Absolutely dominant. But I'm sure that'll be no consolation for them right now. The forgotten man on the podium is Carlos Sainz. He did brilliantly, kind of came out of nowhere when Perez retired and the whole jumble of the safety car. But that's it. one of the best seasons ever comes to an end in one of the wildest ways ever. I do not think we're going to be done discussing this one for a little while, but for now, let's congratulate Max Verstappen on his World Championship, his first World Championship, the first one Red Bull has secured in a long time as well. It's been a mega season, and what a way to end it. What did you guys think of the race? What did you think of the incident? Let me know in the comments. And don't worry, just because the season is over doesn't mean the content stops here. I'll of course be doing an end of season wrap up video, which is a kind of a retrospective on the whole season. I also made some predictions at the start of the season, so I'll be going back and looking at how those fared and potentially laughing at myself quite a lot. So that'll be a bit of fun. Tons of stuff coming, so stay tuned and I'll catch you in the next one. Thank you so much for watching that video. I really do appreciate the support. If you want to see more from me, I'm going to put a couple of extra videos on the left hand side of the screen here for you. Just go ahead and click on one of those. On the right hand side of the screen, I'm going to put a subscribe button. If you want to support me and support the channel, I very much appreciate it. Thank you.